Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo artisans. It's Nick here. Monday, April the 6th. It's about 6 p.m. EST as I record this, and we are going to take a look at the charts today, the usual suspects. First of all, half of the people who watch this are not subscribed, so please do a thumbs up, like, subscribe to all that stuff. It helps us get out there. We are the best kept secret as far as trading goes on the internets. It really is true. Also, there is a free link in the description. It's a free algo. So you click that link, you get a free algorithm, you see me build it, you see me turn it into code, and I show you the tools that traders use to connect their computer to their broker so their algorithm can trade for them while they're not even sitting at the computer. They could be sleeping, playing golf, whatever that is. You have to optimize the algo first for whatever you're trading, but otherwise it is technically good to go. We're going to take a look at the usual suspects at the NASDAQ, USDJPY, Bitcoin, EURUSD, GBPJPY, gold, and silver. Before we take a look at the charts, we're going to take a look at the data that comes out this week that can move those charts around and give us trading opportunities. This is over at forexfactory.com. So here we are Monday night. Tuesday is the next bit of news, and that doesn't happen until 8 p.m. my time, which is 10 p.m. EST. Some New Zealand data coming out. So if you're trading Kiwi, that matters. It's their official cash rate. It's like their FOMC. Wednesday at 2 p.m. EST, we have FOMC meeting minutes. Thursday, we have core PCE price index, final GDP. So those are pretty big numbers on Thursday morning, and that's at 8:30 a.m. EST. That can push the charts around and give us a lot of opportunities. Friday at 8:30 a.m. EST, we have some big news coming out for the U.S. It's our CPI data. It's the primary inflation metric that people look at, and it's what people look at to see what's going to happen with the Fed the next time they cut or hike rates, which I believe is going to be in a couple weeks. I'll have to review that. We also have Canadian data coming out for those of you who trade the loonie. Their employment data comes out at that time. The other news, of course, is the Iran war. None of that's going to show up really here, with the exception of today's speaking engagement with Trump when he addressed the nation on whatever it is he's going to talk about. And he's been saying some very bellicose things. There's a lot of things that get said, whether or not they're true. A lot of it will move markets around. For example, last week I had the NASDAQ continuing down, and then Trump came out about 30 minutes after I posted my video saying that we don't need to open the Strait of Hormuz in order for us to end the war, which was really big for the markets. It pushed them up, and the markets continued up, as we're about to see with the NASDAQ. So the things that the president can say and other people can really change what these predictions are on a grand scale if the news is big enough. So let's go ahead and start with the NASDAQ. So on Monday, last Monday, Trump had said some things that were possibly able to push markets up, but they didn't push markets up. And we saw that right here. And then after the report was published, like I just said earlier, he said some things that really pushed the markets up. He said the Hormuz Strait does not need to be reopened for us to continue the war. And he also said that regime change has occurred. And these are two things that he said needed to happen to stop the war. And now he and Hegseth are saying that they happened. That was last week, and markets have stayed up since then. So it does appear that the level where price needed to stay above, according to my own metric, this level at 22,500 basically. It's an old structural level from way back when. That level didn't get breached. So markets are still going to potentially stay where they are, not crash for now. Right now, I think we're going to see, just based on the metrics for the rest of the week, up until any large data comes out, we're going to see this data kind of crawl up. It might even shoot up, but I think it's going to crawl up. Friday is the CPI Friday morning. So I actually ended the prediction on Friday morning as opposed to a couple of hours later when the market closes. Okay, so we're looking at the NASDAQ probably just grinding up. You have a lower bound right now, I think, really of about 23,650. So right at the bottom of this area here. Right, because that level was held a couple of times before, or at least tested. So I think if price does make its way down to that, it'll probably bounce. I don't think it will, though. I think it's just going to grind up. I don't think it will go above this level here at 25,500. I think that's where it's probably going to knock its head and fall if it can make it up there. Let's take a look at USDJPY. Not expecting a lot out of this one, nor am I expecting a lot out of most Forex pairs this week. It seems that price will remain in some of these ranges. It could be this tighter range right here that's between 159.30 and 159.83 yen to the dollar. It could also pop above, but upper bound on that is going to be 160.48.8 yen to the dollar. So I don't expect price to go beyond that top level, and I don't expect price to go beyond this bottom bound, this lower bound of 158.26.5 yen. I do expect it to probably just grind and range with a slight bullish tint, but you know, that may turn to a bearish tint by the end of the week. We'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin did manage to hold above a key area here at 65,590, this bottom level that it tested 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth time last week. And as it tested it right here, it launched up. And I did say, of course, there's always that potential. We're still in that neighborhood where it can do some pretty big bounces. And for those who are really kind of wanting to see Bitcoin go higher than some recent numbers, it does have quite a lot to do to get there this week. That would be a level of 76,000. It would need to break 76,000 for me to start to think that price could go ahead and breach 80,000. If it doesn't break that anytime in the next 2-3 weeks, there's a really good chance price does continue down. I still have overall metrics looking for price to go down, but we are in a spot algorithmically that could see the bounces be pretty strong. As we just saw last week, this is not that strong of a bounce, but it's notable. You know, it's staying above that level of 65,580 or so. The upper bound for this week is 72,000. If it goes above 72,000, then that would mean Bitcoin is relatively bullish in the near term. I don't think it's going to do that. If it does do that, it's probably going to be pretty strong. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at the euro. Again, I don't expect a lot out of it. It's caught in a range. The larger range right now is upper bound $116.28 to the euro, and it's 114.43. And I should have said euros to the dollar. So it's in terms of the dollar, right? That's the larger range, but right now it's actually caught in a tighter range at 115 euros to the dollar, and the top end of that is 115.7 euros to the dollar. And that doesn't sound like a big range, but that's actually a fair amount of pips. You know, it's a full trade at a range trade. So when you have a minimum of 10 pips per trade like I do, that is about a trade and a half, right? Maybe shorting and longing some of these areas might be the way to go. Maybe like this, you know, grab a long if it goes to the bottom, have your stop loss a little tighter, take profit for the top. That's one way to go. Just what I'm thinking about doing, not investment advice. And then of course, as price does hit the top, as it did earlier today, one could always just have a short trade ready to go with a stop just slightly above that, and then taking profit towards the bottom of that. So those are the ideas for trading such a tight range. If price does knock its head up here and it's not looking terribly bullish, then one could have, again, a short trade ready to go on the top there and then take profit somewhere down here at the bottom of that wider range. That's how range trading goes. You look for price bouncing back and forth in a predictable manner, and you simply grab trades at the top and the bottom of that. And if you lose, you lose. But if you win, it's like 3 and 4 to 1 risk to reward ratio. You could actually make some pretty big wins on these. So it's worth it just to take a few win and then lose the one that you lose, right? That said, I do expect sideways grind, a slight bullish tint, or just sideways and staying within that box. Let's look at GBPJPY. Another pretty boring pair. I don't think I'd necessarily, I mean, you could short this, you know, I could short this. I don't know, you can do whatever you want, but this is not a bad short right here. It's just that it's a little bit bullish for my taste. I mean, if I did short this, I'd manage it pretty close, but what I would really look for is a long on this. I would look to go long down here towards the bottom, however low it goes, and it could touch the bottom of this box, but it does seem like it's kind of grinding upwards. So I would look for a pullback and grab a long and then get out for the top of this range right there. It's not a terribly well established range. So it's probably going to go a little bit higher, but I still would be out before that. That's a good 3 to 1 right there. I mean, that's completely available to, you know, those who may want to take that. Let's take a look at gold. Gold, I think, is going to be quiet. I know I did call this move up as a secondary possibility last week, and that was the correct call, but the volatility is pretty low on gold. I think people are still making their money in oil, the big speculators that like to play around, and so they may not be putting their money in gold or silver at this time. I am overall bullish on gold. I think if we do see a breakout above or below this level, it would be above 4,800 and it would peak above that by the end of the week, possibly. If not, it would knock its head at about 4,800. Lower bound for the local range is going to be 4,555. I guess I just wouldn't trade this right now. It's just so low volatility. But if I was going to do that, I'd look for price to grab some liquidity, perhaps around this 45.80 level, and then grab along. That's how I would handle that. But just gold and silver are so slow right now. I don't know that I would do it. Just like last week. It's really, it did a lot for so long. It had such humongous moves. And whenever you have big moves, you're going to have times with no moves. That's just how it works. So I would probably just avoid trading it unless you are like an expert and you know how it works and that's what you trade and that's where you focus. Let's take a look at silver. Similar to gold, silver's a little more volatile, a little more bullish, but I do expect it to just go sideways. Upper bound for this week's range is going to be about 76.47, lower bound at 69.56. If it does break above 76.47, then we're looking at just probably a peak out a little bit higher. And then I don't think there's a lot of time before the end of the week by the time we see this happen. And again, this isn't just the market close. This This time right here at 6 a.m. on Friday really is the CPI data that comes out, which is 8 hours before market close. So that's where the predictions end this week. Thank you all for watching. We teach people how to build algorithms, how to trade. Algos are not really complex. You don't even need to program or code them, although that's what a lot of people want to do these days, and AI is making that really increasingly possible, but you still have to know how to trade in order to build them properly. It's really hard to just go in and build it, and also there are some other aspects of trading that aren't just, hey, I'm going to build a good trading method. I'm going to build a good algo. I'm going to let it do its thing. It doesn't really work that way. There's a lot more to it than that, a lot. And we teach you all that stuff at Algo Factory, as well as teaching you how to actually trade. The core mechanics of trading, we teach you psychological aspect, treating it like a business. We do all those things. And if you want to get a preview, take a look in the description at that free algo. You see me build the algo, you see me turn it into code using Grok. And then I talk about all the tools that traders use to make their computer trade for them when they're not sitting at the computer. Like I said before, you do have to optimize that algo for any kind of trading that you're doing. You don't just turn it on and let it go. We teach you how to do that stuff at algofactory.tech. We're live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST, and we go for about 10, sometimes 15 minutes for everybody to see on YouTube. And oftentimes I will take trades on there, so you can see that happen. We go live at that time on those days, and then for the rest of the hour, we have our private live lab where the traders will ask, hey, what is your algo saying about this? What do you think is going to happen with that? And I share what I think is going to happen. Via the Gorilla comes in. He talks about his view, his macro view, where, people are talking about what's going on in the rest of the world, how that's affecting the charts. And he's made some major high time frame predictions that have really, really come true. And of course, it's not investment advice, but for people who use that as part of their research, there's people who've made a lot of money with their own research factoring that in. So it's a big, big deal. And I'm saying that all very carefully. I think you all know what I mean. So hopefully we see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. EST, bright and early. Thanks for watching. AlgoFactory.tech. Learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. See you.